As the Roy of the Rebbe to make a sim every day from Rosh Chodesh Mנחem until 15 B'Av, we have the honor today to Vachoshev in German, Rav Chosid, Dr. Mir Zaaklאס is going to make a sim on Mesechta Cרכין. Before the sim, everybody should give tzedakah. Tzedakah b'tzibur is the Rob the Rebbe. Also to remind everybody following that sim, there will be a Farbrengen and also a shiur by Rav Shalom Dover Kohen in the memory of the Rebbe as the program of Leil Shishi in congregation of Rav Zaaklאס, bevakasha. Shah.
Final piece of Gemara in the Masechta Cרכין deals with stay achuzah of a Yisrael. And the psukim are found in Parshas B'chukoisai. I'm just going to read a bit of psukim and put it all together just to give you background. So it says, "V'im stay achuzosai Yakdish." If a Yisrael is makdish his own stay achuzah, and the im lo yigal, and nobody was poided, he wasn't actually poided. The im mochar es hasoda, it was sold by the gizber of the Beis Hamikdash to somebody else. V'hoya hasoda b'tzeisi b'yovel, the soda goes out in yovel, kodesh la'Hashem. It goes kodesh to the Eibishter, which he's going to explain. And he says, Kistei acherim, it's like a stei acherim, that goes to la kohen, it goes to the kohen tia chuzosai. So what happens is during the distribution of the field, it goes to the kohenim of that particular mishmer. So Yistei achuzah of Yisrael ends up going to the kohenim of that mishmer. On this, the final piece of Gemara says, Toner Rabbanan, Kistei acherim l'kohen tia achuzosai. It's the emphasis is going to be on stei hacherim. The question is going to be, why is stei hacherim put in the same place when you're talking about a stei achuzah of Yisrael? Ma Talmud Loimer, Gemara asks, what is there to learn from this that they put in stei hacherim in the middle of a stei achuzah shel Yisrael? So minayin, what you're supposed to learn from the kohen shehekdish sarach hamoi. If a kohen gets a stei cherem from a Yisrael, and it's declared by the Yisrael to be a cherem kind of field, shelo yomer, that he shouldn't say, hoyo v'yotzel ha-kohenim, since a regular stei achuzah of Yisrael will end up go to the kohenim of that mishmar, v'arei tachas yodi, and now this field, this cherem field, is under my hands because it was given to him by Yisrael, who declared it a cherem field. Tehei shali. Then when Yovel comes, it should be all mine. And the Gemara says, "V'dinu," there is some logic. Why? Because if from others, meaning a stei achuzah of Yisrael, a kohen is mezakeh. Why? Because it goes to the kohenim of that mishmar. B'shel atzmai lekoshkein. Then for sure, a stei cherem, that the kohen was makdish himself, for sure it would go to him after Yovel. Talmud leimer. So therefore it says, v'hoya stei hastei b'atzeis b'yovel kodesh la'Hashem k'stei hacherim. So it doesn't go to him; it goes to the kohenim of that mishmar, just like a stei achuzah of Yisrael. And he compares, it's compared to a stei cherem. V'chi ma lamadnu mistei hacherem. What does stei cherem teach us me'ata? Hareza l'lamed v'nimsa lomed. And we're seeing that stei hacherem is not teaching us, but we are teaching the stei hacherem. Why? Makish soda cherem. You are makish the soda, the stei cherem of the kohen, l'soda achuzah shel Yisrael, to achuzah shel Yisrael. Ma soda achuzah shel Yisrael yetz b'tachas yodei u'mischalekes l'kohenim, just like we said before. A stei achuzah of Yisrael gets distributed among the kohenim of that mishmar by Yovel on Yom Kippur, af stei chermoi, so too the stei cherm of the kohen, yotze mitachas yodi, it goes from under his hand, umischalekes lechot, and goes to his brothers, hakohenim. So it is going just the same way the Estei Achuz of Yisrael goes to the kohen of that mishmar. What we're learning from the pasuk that a stam cherem, that a kohen is makdish, ends up also going there, and he can't keep it for himself. Omer Mar b'shalachem ani zeicha. Mar says is the logic between about the kolshkein that the shalachem and zeicha. Does that make sense? Midami. How do you compare it? Hosam there zeicha bi'alma. By estei cherem of Yisrael, he only gets a piece. It's the kohenim of the whole mishmar. They all get divided. Here, what he wants is the stei cherem of the kohen. He wants the whole thing for himself, so you can't even compare it. So you need the pshat. You need the pshat of kistei hacherim. Why? Because so kadaitach minach you would have thought. It says ish es kadoshav lo yiyu. When you're talking about a kohen that comes to the Beis Hamikdash, and normally if anybody brings a korban to the Beis Hamikdash, depending on what kind of korban it is, whether it's a chatas, a oila, or a shlomim, it gets divided up by the kohenim of that mishmar. But there is a special case that says v'ishas kadoshav loy, that if the kohen himself brings any of these three, a chatas, a oila, or a shlomim, and he does all the avodah, then he gets to keep the oir and the basar and the imurim. So you would think that maybe there is a good analogy between that and what we're talking about, that his stei cherem, that he was makdish, the kohen was makdish, is the same idea. He gets to keep everything. So the Gemara says, is it really the same? Is it really the same? Can you really make that analogy? By the kohen that brings his own korban, he actually does an avodah. He actually, the Rashi calls it a schar avodah. The schar avodah means that he gets to keep those pieces. But in the case here, by the stei cherem, what exactly did the kohen do? The kohen didn't do very much. All that happened was he got the soda cherem, and he transferred it to hekdesh. He didn't do anything, so you can't really compare it. It's not the same. Mנחem says no. We still need the part of the pasuk that's kistei cherem, because now we're going to bring you a very strong sol kadaita. Sol kadaita choyel v'ba'al v'ksiv, because it says ki achuzos olam hu lahem nami achuzosehi. So there is another din that by the Orei Halavim, which the kohenim also got. They also got part of the 48 cities, the 42 plus 6 cities. And by those cities, if they were makdish any of those cities, there was a halacha, a outcome that gulas olam til alvim, that they could always be poited, whether it was right away, whether it was after Yovel, whether it was sold or not. There was a special status about Orei Alavim and the Orei HaKoyanim, that they were be able to get it completely back. So that is taka a good example, which is very, very analogous to here where these stam cherem that this kohen was makdish, the same idea. Maybe taka you should get it back. So the Gemara says kamash malon achuzosai. Therefore it says achuzosai. What does achuzosai means? That just like the stei achuzah of the Yisrael, it goes to the kohen of that mishmar, so too a cherem field that a kohen is makdish also goes to the kohen of that mishmar at Yovel. So the Gemara finally says achuzosei ein, his achuzah his achusa, meaning the Orei Alevim and the Koyanim. Ein means that they taki get it all back and they have a right. But now the whole point of having in the pasuk to stay acherim in middle of a whole Indian where you're talking about stay achusa sheyisro. Why did we put in stay acherim of a kohen? Why? Because chormu loy, to learn that a chormu, that if you make if the kohen gets a stay acherim, then he cannot keep it all. It's the same. It's because it's written within the Indian of stay achusa sheyisro. That's the deen, and therefore the kohenim of that mishmar get the field, and he doesn't get to get it back. One small word, the Rebbe actually makes a siyum on a small word. It makes a siyum on in Mesechta Chelek. It's in Chelek Chof Beis in Likutei Sichos on Parshas Bechukosai. And the Rebbe concludes just with that story. That's a very famous story. That just to repeat it because it has a connection with Erichin. The story of Rabbi Hillel Parcher. Hillel Parcher, as you all know, wanted to meet the Alter Rebbe, but it never worked out. So he had a plan. He was going to find out what city the Alter Rebbe was in, where he was staying, and he was going to hide under the bed, and he was going to pop up under the bed when the Alter Rebbe was there. Now, he knew that the Alter Rebbe, the first Yechidus had to be in learning, and then the next Yechidus had to do with Avodas. So Reb Hillel had prepared a question in the Mesechta Chelek, and he was hoping that when the Alter Rebbe would come in, he would be able to pop out under the bed and he would ask the Rebbe a question in Chelek, and therefore he would have that Yechidus. However, of course, as soon as the Alter Rebbe walked into the room, the first thing the Alter Rebbe said while Reb Hillel was still hiding under the bed, and I'll quote in the Sikha, he says, as a younger man hat akashi in Erchin, darf für sich marach sein. So if a younger man, if a young man has a question on the kasha of Erchin, the first thing he has to do is to evaluate himself. So it says that after these words, of course, Reb Hillel fainted. He was overwhelmed, and by the time he got up, he recovered. The Alter Rebbe had left, so he actually never got to see the Alter Rebbe. So what's the connection? The connection of the Mesechtas Erichin with Achuza is as follows. In the beginning of the Mesechta, it says Hakol Marachin, that anybody could make an erech on somebody else. And the Rashi says erech ploni alai. If you see someone, depending on obviously their age group and their gender, you can make an erech on them, so that you can evaluate someone else, and evaluating someone else usually has a positive connotation. It's just like an achuza. Achuza has value, property has value, so an erech has value. On the other hand, the cherem is usually associated with something negative. It focuses on chesrenis. So the Masechta concludes, achuzas ein cherem loy, that what a yid should do, he should focus on the other person's positive values, not on his cherem loy, not on his negative values. And through that, this is the antidote for the sinas chinam, which will bring about avos chinam, which will bring about the Gilul Hashem b'Vekor of Mamash Hadron Haloch.
Shkoyach. Everybody has to say l'chaim, and don't forget about the shir that is being organized by the Gaboim, the Rav Sholem Doi Vera Kohen.